Ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago, Oscar Sudi said something which most Kenyans took for granted. But what Oscar Sudi said was very serious.
Kwanza wewe mwenye ulichora William Ruto na mwenye ulisponsor kuchora William Ruto, utakufa mbele ya William Ruto na utakufa mbele yetu sisi wote. Wewe ndio utatangulia kwa hiyo kaburi. Hawa watu wanatuambia ati William Ruto must go. Tunataka tuwaambie hawa, mtupatie nafasi. Tuongee 2027. Na mujipange, wacha kuongea tu hapo kwa mtandao. Vitisho baridi. Mtafute watu wengine wa kutisha. Sisi wengine ni asolas. Huyu William Ruto ni mtoto ya mtu tu, alikuwa anauza kuku nini. Mimi mwingine alikuwa na makanga. Na nataka nirudie hapa. Hii Kenya hakuna rais ameenda kwa miaka 5. Kwani huyu ndiye atakuwa wa kwanza? Kama tunafanya nini? Kama tumelala wapi? Kama nini imefanyika? Kwani Kenya ni yenu? Mjue.
For those who paid very close attention to Oscar Sudi, he was speaking with some confidence. Why the confidence? I don't want to get into that for now. For now, I want us to talk about a post which Dennis Itumbi also made yesterday, which in my view, Dennis Itumbi leaked the rigging strategy which most Kenyans have been talking about of late. Let me just get my phone here and head straight to that tweet by Dennis Itumbi. This is what Dennis Itumbi posted yesterday. Random fact. Mandera population 983,000. Nyeri 844. I don't know which year is this, because according to the results for the 2019 figures, Nyeri was around 750 something there. So between 2019 to now, I think it might have gone beyond this. Kirinyaga 658, Nyandarua 638, Embu 608. That is post census suppression. Fertility rate, Mandera 7.7 kids per woman. Nyeri 3.1, Kirinyaga 2.8, Nyandarua 3.6, Embu 3.1. The Mandera man can marry 4. By the way, just saying. So what Dennis Itumbi is alluding to here is that based on these figures and the time they were taken, the population of Mandera is currently very high. Let me get to the first comment here by Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi Senior Counsel, the Grand Mullah. He's saying here, Dennis, 983K is Uhuru, Matiangi, Kibicho doctored figures. Mandera is 2 million. Ask. It is home. Itumbi is responding to him. Agreed. That is why I added a refrain on tweet that these numbers are post-suppression. I agree 100%. If you go through the responses here, something is also coming out. The timing of this post by Dennis Itumbi is significant because it's coming at a time when William Ruto is camping in Mandera. And during his tour of Mandera, William Ruto announced to the entire country that the vetting requirement for the residents along the border, Kenya-Somali border, will no longer be applicable. For those who've been keenly following this channel, I've always stated something, that the 2027 presidential elections will be determined into regions. The Luhya Nation, that's where the figures, the perceived figures, will be generated, and Northern Kenya, where the rigging will take place. Let me just use some figures here. Hope I can get them very quickly. Let me just use some figures here. According to the IBC portal, 2022 presidential elections results, Mandera registered 207,000 people, registered voters. Out of this, 66% of them turned up. Raila had 82,000, Ruto had 48. Interestingly, Nyeri County had 481. According to these figures by Dennis Itumbi, and this is why it's important, according to Dennis Itumbi's figures, Mandera had 983,000 in terms of population. Nyeri had 800. So in short, Nyeri with a lower population had a higher number of voters. Actually, more than twice that of Wajir. And remember, according to Dennis Itumbi, the figures in Wajir were suppressed. Now with the vetting removed, what does it tell you? That the Wajir voters will easily cancel the loss William Ruto is going to incur in the mountain. So in this video, I want us to do this critical analysis. Why the rigging of 2027 presidential elections will actually take place in northern Kenya. But before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two. Click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to dive in. Why do I strongly believe that the 2027 presidential elections will actually be rigged? Because in Kenya, elections has never been free, fair, and credible. Why do I strongly believe that those elections will actually be rigged? In northern Kenya, the other day, Rigathi Gachagua addressed the Mulembe Nation. In his address to the Mulembe Nation, Rigathi Gachagua made reference to northern Kenya. Listening to Rigathi Gachagua, do you think Rigathi Gachagua did not know what he was talking about?
Kujipanga na kuwa united as a people. Ukiangalia hii watu ya Northeastern hawakupigania hii serikali, lakini vitu yote ya usalama wamechukua. Wanaungana, wana negotiate, wamepewa kila kitu kwa hii serikali, more than you. Na nyinyi mlipiga kura, na hao hakuna kura walipiga. Unaona waziri yako hapo Garissa anapiga kelele kila siku kwa chifu kila mtu, na hata hakuleta kura 2000 kwa William Ruto. Lakini mdomo iko juu sana kukashifu wengine na kuambia vile wanatakiwa kukaa. Lakini your vote has been wasted as a region because it's not united. I want to ask the people of Western to make a conscious decision going forward to unite as a people and to forget about sub-plans.
No, that is Rigathi Gachagua. The truth of the matter is that the 2027 presidential elections, if rigging were to take place, because there is no free and fair elections in the world, rigging will have to take place. The other party can only try and thwart. And that's why in the last election, I was almost 100% sure that Raila Odinga was going to win, because Raila Odinga finally had the system which had always lacked all through. But the moment Johnson Sakaja was cleared to run, because remember the drama around his qualification, I remember doing a video here. And in that video, I asked Raila Odinga to forget about the presidency, because there was no way if they had the deep state, Sakaja would have been cleared, which meant they lost based on that. So I strongly believe that rigging will take place in the northern Kenya. Why? Number one, there is the historical marginalization. And this is a fact. I've been to Garissa at least twice, and I love the area. My first time to go to Garissa, when I was coming back, I was actually shocked. When, after boarding the bus, I think that river, there was that police roadblock. Everybody was told to get out of the bus. I think it's the normal practice there. Then you come in. Then as you get into the bus, for you to proceed, people are being checked. But when you ngumu kama yangu hii, you were just being told, well, get in the bus. So I was like, when I asked around, I was told that that's normally the issue here. Anybody going this side, maybe they are coming from the Somali side, from the Somali country. So that marginalization, so there's that historical marginalization, which means, number one, their numbers has always been suppressed. If, for example, in the last election, the voter registration in Nyanza, forget about those who registered, was suppressed. What about Northern Kenya? Because a child born in Northern Kenya and a child born in Kisumu, reaching 18 years, getting ID, it's easy for a child born in Kisumu to easily get IDs. Which means there are so many people in the northern region who have attained the ID age, but they cannot get those IDs, which means they cannot register. So some of them follow up these IDs mpaka someone gets tired. At the end of the day, they give up. They just operate without those IDs. Of course, you find a way of managing it. So which means their numbers in real sense are suppressed. But the only doubt I have is the figures Dennis Itumbi is giving us. Because based on the figures Dennis Itumbi is giving us, if we are to check them against the registered voters, then it means this country has been unfair. Dennis Itumbi is saying that Mandera has 983,000, but the only registered there is 207. Now let us go through those population. According to this Dennis Itumbi, Kirinyaga had population of 658. In the last election, Kirinyaga had registered voters 376. More than half of the people registered voters in Kirinyaga. Yeah. According to this figure by Dennis Itumbi, Nyandarua had 361, but the registered voters. But according to Dennis Itumbi, Nyandarua had 638. More than half of the population are registered voters. Now, if you compared it to Kakamega, for example, Kakamega had, according to the figures, 2 million people, but the registered voters were only 800 and something, which means they've not even hit the half mark. But for the mountain, almost all voters, everybody is a registered voter. And if you go through these comments further here, someone raised that, and Dennis Itumbi responded to that. Someone raised that particular issue, that your analysis exposes ill intentions, ignoring the facts. Here's the truth about registered voters. He's just listed those registered voters. Then he goes ahead. Dennis Itumbi is now responding to him. I have not touched on voters, but since you have, not the headroom for new voters is higher in Garissa than in Nyeri. Nyeri has over 90% of its eligible voters registered. Mandera, because of skewed ID issuance, which is true, and suppressed population count, on the population count there, that's where the issue is, has less than 40% of eligible voters registered. You have self-defeating argument. Itumbi is saying here that in the mountain, if they were to open up the voter registration, only 10% of the population are yet to register. But in Mandera, if you are to open it, over 40% of the people are yet to register. So are you getting that? So because of that suppressed numbers, it's possible to just cook figures. Number two, there is also the accessibility. This is why this marginalization will enable anybody who wants to rig in the northern Kenya to do it. Accessibility is an issue. Infrastructure. How do you access one point to the other? It makes it very impossible for most political parties to even have agents. In Nyanza, it's easy. For example, in Kisumu Central here, you can easily have agents. because they can easily move border, poor. Now, northern Kenya, because of the landmass and poor infrastructure, is not possible. So which means at the end of the day, the system can decide to even create fake polling stations. Because in the past, we've had fake polling stations where IBC, in collision with the system, claims that there's a polling station here. Well, in real sense, there's no polling station there. Then people vote. And of course, some of them, the other parties were able to flag because at least they were accessible. What of northern Kenya? I don't know how many people have gone to northern Kenya. You'll find land back away, you can't see the other side. You can't see any. Unaona mwisho wa dunia huko, mwisho wa dunia huko, mwisho wa dunia huko as you cruise through those roads. So it will be possible to do all these dirty games in northern Kenya because of historical marginalization. Number two, as we speak, the security system is in the hands of northern Kenya. Everything in politics is not by coincidence. They were designed that way. That the NIS guy would come from that region, the DCI guy would come from that region to facilitate. We are in Africa. I don't want to get into that because that's a very sensitive area. But even Rigathi Gachagua, while addressing the lawyer nation, told them, you know, the security system, iko wapi? Number three, there is silent war between the Kikuyu nation and the Somali nation. Economic war, business rivalry. If you go to Nairobi, currently, the Somali community are taking over businesses. Previously, in Kenya, the assumption was that Kikuyus are the owners of businesses. That's why it was possible for you to go to Migori, to go to Siaya, and you find a Kikuyu with a shop there. Currently, even in my own village, over the weekend, I met two ladies in Buibui. I stopped them, we chatted a bit. Kamuliza, nini, sisi tunafanya biashara hapa. Initially, I thought they were teachers. So that's how deep the Somali community are taking over businesses. And again, critically looking at it, you'll agree with one fact, that the Somali community are able to integrate easily wherever they go. Unlike our friends from the mountain, who not very easily to integrate. You find a Maasai, you find a Somali. Let me use a case of Junet. Junet Mohammed's father, this is what Junet told me, the story told me, that how, because one time I asked him how they found themselves in Migori. He told me those years, the father, I don't know, there was some kind of business people used to follow to Uganda. So the father, instead of going through Busia route, the vehicle followed that other side, Migori route. So akapotea huko. So he stopped there. He branched somewhere. You know, all the days, Kitambo, people were hospitable. So he branched a place. Then those guys hosted him. Akakunywa akalala hapo. The next day akasema, hey, sasa how do I go to Busia? Akaambiwa, hey, Uganda ni mbali, Busia the other side. So he said, okay, I'm too tired. I'm not going. So that's how he found himself remaining there. Then he proceeded with his businesses there. Today, Junet is a member of parliament, courtesy of the father, because the father was the one who was nominated actually. Then, because of his activities, he said, I don't want politics, pia na huyu kijanango. So that's how he first got nominated as a councillor. So the Somalis, they easily integrate. Unet's wife, a lovely lady there, speaks fluently than even Junet Mohammed, a different story. So you find even the Somalis in Kisumu here speak Luo. You go to Garissa Lodge here, you know, this is town. You go there, they speak Luo. Yeah? We have had a councillor here, Somali here, can pure Luo. So they can easily integrate. Kikuyus are a bit difficult to integrate. And because of that integration, the Somalis are kind of now overtaking the Kikuyus, which means now they are preparing, because you cannot take the leadership without the finance. So the population we are talking about, which William Ruto is going to facilitate, and they are going to have those populations, they are going to have numbers. I've always told you, politics is a game of numbers. Once they have those numbers, it will be possible to have a Somali as a president of the Republic of Kenya. And of course, I was explaining the rivalry between the business rivalry between the Kikuyus and the Somalis. Ruto is being dumped by the Kikuyus. It's going to be possible for someone to craft a narrative around that to persuade the Masais not to vote for Ruto. Why am I insisting on Masais? Sorry. On the Somalis. On the Somalis to vote for Ruto. And lastly, the financial muscles of the Somali community. Today, if you go to Eastleigh, the biggest and the tallest mall in East and Central Africa is found there. You go to Nairobi, you'll agree that financially the community is ready. Which means if a window is opened for them to facilitate and to help their people get ideas, they'll pump money. And if you are to convince them that the person going to take over is going to serve their political interest, their business interest, they'll do that. And because of that, Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua, Fred Matiangi must be very careful, because in the northern Kenya, there is nothing they can do to stop anybody from doing whatever they want. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the video. It's a bit long because of the comprehensive nature. I wanted it to come out. Again, if you've watched the video up to this stage, please let me know in the comment section. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.